The devil is always in the detail, yeah? And on one level, your neurodivergent kids, let's say your practical kids, the kids who are good with your hands, the artistic kids, you know, if you've got that 1950s reading, writing, and arithmetic, which just sounds like what they want to put out there, those are the kids who fall through the gap. So being able to go to a different kind of school, like if there were groups that were putting on schools in these charter schools for neurodivergent children, like if that was a charter school, neurodivergent children, most people would probably go, well, yeah, that's not a terrible idea. If I can get my kid who's on the spectrum somewhere and has problem with, you know, tactile things or noise or whatever, a decent education, because, you know, the rest of the class is not just going off working on their ABCs, maybe that would be a good thing. However, devil being in the detail, when you see people like Brian Tamaki at the top of the list with their hand up saying, I want one, devil, literally, in the detail. Let's have a look.
Lifting the achievement of Kiwi students has been a key focus of the government, and it's just made another education move ahead of this month's budget. Up to 50 charter schools could be established, coming at a cost of $153 million over the next 4 years. 15 of them will be brand new, while up to 35 state schools could be converted into charter ones. It's hoped the first schools will be open by term 1 next year. The aim is to provide more options for learning, but Labor says they're an ideological experiment. Senior political reporter Benedict Collins has more.
At Auckland's Vanguard Military School, discipline and passion were on display in equal measure today.
To bring kids into a school that's different and engage them differently so that they can feel a sense of pride and purpose.
Charter school.
See, that sentence in isolation doesn't sound terrible.
And he's very good at that.
Yeah.
You know, it was great talking about expanding lunches to preschoolers and that as well. But the devil's in the detail.
Sure is. So let's keep going, because the devil's about to come out.
Schools have long been the ACT Party's pet project. This new wave of charter schools will have to reach achievement and attendance goals.
And our education system needs it. Our attendance is genuinely in crisis. We need schools that children want to go to.
The track record of charter schools, though, is in dispute.
Actually, let's just say they were mediocre at best.
There was overwhelming success in the previous charter model.
I think that both of those statements are measurable. I don't have the data to measure them, but I'm sure over the next few days they'll be coming out, because Labor that's Jan Tinnity, isn't it? Is that right? I've got that right?
I believe so, yeah.
Going charter bad, and they've got David Seymour going the best thing. Whatever was the best thing since sliced bread, this is better than that thing. So I'm sure there's a way of us to find out more about that data.
Are our kids guinea pigs? I don't think so.
Changes are just the first steps to lifting student achievement.
And there's one possible sweetener for kids thinking about attending a charter school.
The government have just banned cell phones in schools.
You might not have to comply with the Prime Minister's ban on cell phones.
Charter schools will have autonomy, so they won't be forced to do things such as the cell phone ban.
Okay, so this is where the devil comes out. They have autonomy. So, Brian Tamaki, forget Brian Tamaki. Church X starts up a charter school, jumps through all the hoops. They have autonomy, starts teaching that gay community are devils. They're all going to hell. You know, starts teaching, and remember, I've had a lot of experience in this world, that men are superior to women. Men are the head of the household. Women need to be submissive. They have autonomy, right? And that's what I'm saying. Where does that line go? They'll have some standards to live up to, but I suspect those standards will be based on learning outcomes. What about the teaching outcomes? What about what they're going to put into kids? And if people kind of go, well, that's religion. That's okay. So the white race is superior. Nothing illegal about saying that. School has autonomy. What if that school gets set up as a charter school? They have autonomy. The rules in these new schools don't have to align with the rules in state schools. I find that quite terrifying, and I need more detail to figure out if this is a devil we should be worried about or not, Chewy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, who's in charge of whatever these guys have on the curriculum? Apparently just the school, with no oversight from the state, even though they are getting state funding. This is $150 million that's been taken away from just normal stream schools. It's crazy. There are studies of the eye-watering amount of money that goes per student in a charter school. And when we're talking about value for money in school lunches, but he's going to supercharge the per pupil cost of teaching for his special pet project private schools.
Yep.
On public money.
Yep.
Like, I agree. That first thing of like traditional schooling doesn't fit for everyone. But we've heard from Christopher Luxon tonight that it does work for everyone. These guys can't pull in the same direction if their life depended on it. Like, yes, there is a place for non-traditional schooling, but I think if they have their hand out for public funding, then we have to have a say in what their curriculum is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yes, we will get St. Adolph's School for the Racially Pure or turbocharge anti-gay Destiny fucking Institute for the Hateful.
Let's address that.
It's ridiculous.
Let's address this, because Destiny was turned down several times when we had a last charter school. Do you know who's someone who thinks they shouldn't have been turned down, Chewie?
Oh, go on.
David Seymour. Keep watching.
I absolutely think it's ironic. This is actually really crazy.
New charter schools will launch from 2026, and existing state schools can convert from next year.
We are very interested in the possibility of being able to move back. When we came back over to mainstream, it was really difficult to shine.
They wish to have the kind of flexibility and autonomy over their funding to be able to employ without rigid union contracts and to be able
pay people less. So in other words, the workers at the charter schools, the schools don't want to have to abide by the employment laws of the land. That's literally what he's saying. The schools don't want to have to abide by, all those teachers unions that look after the rights of teachers and the contracts of teachers. These schools won't have to worry about treating their teachers well at all. Literally what he's saying. Literally.
Without rigid union contracts and to be able to chart their own destiny.
Speaking of which, preacher Brian Tamaki says he expects David Seymour will deliver a Destiny charter school.
Well, what I see today is you're a good man who makes a lot of difference.
Officials previously rejected such a school, worried students would be forced to attend Destiny Church.
And I want to say to you today, I'm sorry for that decision. That was wrong.
There you go. Destiny Church. He was supportive of Destiny Church, and now he's in charge.
Destiny should have had a charter school.
The controversial preacher believes Destiny should be the first cab off the rank.
Of course he does. So, thank you for, I think it was you later on the messaging. Thank you for your message about this. And this church got turned around several times, but look who thought they should have got one. And what is he doing now? Well, he's kind of in charge of this whole thing. So yes, Destiny Church will get a charter school.
This is very clearly in David's wheelhouse. The private sector or some special character can fucking do this heaps better than the state can. Mm-hmm. And the reason that they can do that is we're going to absolutely drown them with public funding and then hold that up against the cash-starved public system. Break what works and just leave a private option that people will make money out of.
Yep.
Like him standing there, that simpering little fuck next to Tamaki and fawning to him, I think you're a good man, as he sits there in his gang member cosplay. What an absolute twat. And is that Judith Collins standing next to him?
Yeah, I think that's everyone, because look, that's Little, isn't it? There's Little there.
Yeah, but he looks like he wants to eat his own face.
Yeah, but I guess they're all out there. Yeah.
But Judith's standing there with a lovely big grin on her face because her and Hannah Tamaki are really close.
Right.
So, I mean, this is just... Like, I'm not even going to make a blanket statement and say that there is nothing that charter schools can add to this country. I just think the version of this that David Seymour has in mind, which is a money funnel from the public purse to these special interest cases in such numbers and with such little oversight and such little input to go with that money is going to be absolutely a disaster.
I think as well, there's probably ways around this. So, for example, this is one of the, pardon me, criticisms from Labor, right? Charter schools not run by government and don't need to teach the state set curriculum were allowed due to a confidence and supply agreement between ACT and National in the 2011 election. So if you had an ideology, whatever, it's a religious one, it's a race one, it's a farming one, it's a practicality one. Yeah, we're going to set up a school for kids who want to be builders, whatever. If they had to then do their ideological conversation alongside the government set curriculum, that would feel better. If they weren't allowed to teach, overt lessons that went against human rights, which, I mean, I think you can imagine Christian schools doing that, that would be better. Just a couple of caveats put in place, I think, could make this something that could work. I'm not putting my stamp of approval on it, because you know what Tamaki would do? He'd use that as Pat Britton stamp of approval. You know what he's like. You know what he's like, Chewy.
That carries a lot of weight, though.
It carries a lot of weight, But what I'm saying is, it feels like what they're going, let's roll this money up into a ball and just throw it to them, and then they can do whatever they want with it. If there were a few strings attached to that ball of money, that might be more palatable, but well regulated and with a really, really, really significant oversight. I don't care if they're charter schools, and don't care if they can do it their way. Like we homeschooled for a while. Yeah, I think I've told you guys this story several times. One of my eldest child showed signs of so this is my dyslexia. I lose words all the time. A condition. What's the name of that condition? I keep wanting to say dyslexia, where it causes people to comatose and shake. I can't think of the word. It's popped out of my head. They'll tell me in the chat what it is. But anyway, my eldest child had this. I can't even think of what my child had.
And epilepsy?
Epilepsy. Thank you very much. This is just so you know, people. That's my dyslexia. I lose jargon. That's one of the things it does. Epilepsy. And so we decided not to worry about school. And we were just planning how to best get through medication and stuff. And so we just decided to go homeschooling. The rigmarole you had to go through to get homeschooling, the essays and stuff you had to write, and the evidence you had to provide to be able to be a homeschooling parent sounds like it was significantly more. Probably not. I'm thinking, because if schools got turned down, but it sounds like it could be significantly more heavy-handed than what someone might be able to do to run a whole charter school and then teach whatever they like. See, we still had to teach the school curriculum. So as a homeschooling teacher, you still had to have your check boxes to go through. So yeah, I this concerns me a lot, because I haven't heard any of those tethers that would keep their teaching in these schools to a standard that we need children to reach getting out of that school. That's what it is.
Yeah, and look, I think the reason the state has to have a say in these sort of things is that these schools will churn out people that exist in our society.
Yeah.
And also with little oversight comes a big opportunity for corruption. So this is a story regarding the previous round of charter schools. The Auditor General has strongly criticised a school board that paid almost $500,000 to a trust on which the members were the trustees of the school.
Right.
And it was unable to clearly show what it was spent on, who authorised it, or how the fee was determined. Villa Education Trust was the sponsor of 2 charter schools, South Auckland Middle School and Middle School West Auckland. When the Labor government abolished charter schools, the Ministry of Education appointed an establishment board to transition the schools back into the state system. And then look at that. Oh, we've got a whole bunch of missing money. People making their wallets fat. Now, that is exactly the system that David Seymour endorses. A money funnel from the public purse to the private pocket.
What did they say? Was it 150 million?
450. Sorry, 100 of funding. But yeah, 150 million.
So that's 3 million per charter school. Do a lot with $3 million, especially if you already have Like if you're a state school being converted, 3 million per school, because it was 50 schools, wasn't it?
I'd love to put up this article, but it seems the website's broken. But the headline that I was going to put up, the National and ACT experiment with charter schools that ran from 2014 to 2018 cost $48,000 per student annually.
Wow.
Does that sound like good value for money?
I don't want to freak you
public
out,
funds?
but as you were saying that, we had 666 viewers. So maybe the devil is definitely in that detail.
Oh, Brian Tamaki, look out. We're coming for
maybe.
you, buddy.
Just saying. Just saying. You're safe now because it's gone down to 662. So you're right.
Oh.